It's back and bigger than ever. It's the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
If you're still alive with Ice-Mageddon on the way, welcome back. It is the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com. All right, welcome back, everybody. Carrie Murdoch, along with Josh McQuistion and Eddie Radosevich for another edition of the Unofficial 40. Bob Przbillo is on baby duty today because of all the weather that we're having here in Oklahoma. Josh, you're really missing out. I'm sure the girls would love all the snow coming down. But first off, we start with Big Bread, Big Dairy trying to take out Eddie Radosevich yesterday. What a day you had yesterday, Eddie. And I turned Eddie completely off. Sorry, Eddie, what a day you had yesterday. I swear I'm not trying to do like a Big Kat Billy football thing here. And Eddie is gone. Wow. Let's
tell us about your day, Eddie.
What a start we are having to the show.
Hello.
Are you there?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything for like 5 minutes. I don't know what happened.
Could be that my internet went down. Josh would have been gone. No, I was saying I wasn't trying to do a Big Kat Billy football thing here. I mean, I really was trying to go to you. Anyway, Big Bread, Big Dairy tries to take you down yesterday. Tell us what happened, Eddie.
Well, I was driving into the radio station at the crack of dawn, and I stop every day at the on-queue on 23rd, so I was getting back onto the highway, onto, I guess, what is that, 235? And I don't really know what happened. I wasn't going fast, caught a little bit of a slick spot, and basically ran my ass into a curb and up my car. So I had to deal with that yesterday. It was the perfect day to go get or be in need of a tow truck. Let me tell you.
Because you waited, what, like 3 hours?
Yeah. I mean, they told me 2 hours, which I completely understood. And the guy that picked me up and helped me out and took me up to the shop was he was awesome. So it was quite the event.
Was it a better ride than our Kansas State trip, tow guy?
Somewhat, but nothing will ever beat the trip back from Lubbock, which was actually the Go Raiders game in which
we hit a
deer on the way back to Dallas with a bunch of my fraternity brothers, including me driving Britt Banowski's brand new Audi. So, and the deer ran out in front of us. So that was taking 3 guys in a 2-seat, or 4 people total in a 2-seat truck from Wichita Falls to Dallas was quite interesting. And it was no better way to meet the commissioner of Conference USA than presenting myself and telling him that I wrecked his son's car.
That would be a bad day. I would not have enjoyed that.
Slept in his sister's bed that night, though, and she was pretty hot. She obviously wasn't there, but...
I was like, wow, Dad's going to be a lot more pissed off about that than the car.
Yeah, the Banowskis loved me.
Oh, man. So, or is it maybe Mike Morgan had something to do with it?
We're not ruling anything out. I will tell you this. The next few days in Oklahoma should be very interesting as far as the weather wars that are being thrown down. Dan Threlkeld just sending ricochet shots down the Turner Turnpike yesterday really kind of juiced me up.
You know, I was told I should know this, and I probably shouldn't throw this out there, but I was told that Mike Morgan is responsible for Dan Threlkeld being fired.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I think that there's definitely some hate there, and which is kind of funny because I played for Dan Threlkeld in Little League football when he was here in Oklahoma City. His son was my age.
Who has an animal?
I have a puppy that is convinced it needs outside of the room it is in, and I'm like, it's the worst when you have a puppy because like he has I can't tell him anything. He's just like, whatever, dude, quit snapping your damn fingers at me. But he wants out to go, I think, to get to a toy outside, and I'm like, sir, you're gonna need to just chill your ass out. So
now, have you gotten past all the death potential with him?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Now it's just like, dude, you're kind of a butthole. You were kind of better when you were sick and just slept all the time. Like, that was pretty easy puppy life. Now I'm getting what real puppies are like, and he's a little butthole. He chews everything. He's constantly, like, Layla lives in fear of him, like, chewing her dresses because she runs past him, and then he bites at her dress. So he's a puppy. He's a pain in the ass.
Very nice. Well, since we met last time, I guess we should start with commitments. I mean, let's just go right off the bat because that's what's going on right now. It's the only football we have really to talk about leading up to the draft. But Sooners get a big get, a guy that we've been watching for a while. Really, he was at the same camp as Brock Vandegrift when we first got to see him with our own eyes. Eddie and I were there, and a guy that, I mean, he was just it's like you go to a camp, you're like, that kid's a sophomore, and he was just dominating. But, a guy that is a running back receiver, Raleek Brown, class of 2022, I would say wouldn't you say, Josh, he's kind of been targeted as one of those kind of 5-star kids from the very beginning in that class?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's one of those guys that everybody knew about from an early age because there's always a couple freshmen that just shine on tape, and you can tell they're special. I had to do our breakdown based on his freshman tape because he switched schools after his sophomore year, and I can only speculate why the sophomore tape isn't out there, but I'm going to guess there's some bad blood about him leaving the program, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no sophomore tape in existence, and obviously didn't get to play a junior year in California. So there's not a lot to go on, but even his freshman tape, you're like, that's a top 100 guy in the country. Like right now, he's a top 100 guy in the country. So he's had 2 years to get bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, there's plenty to like there right now. So, it's huge for Oklahoma. And like I said, what I like the most about him, and I've said it all along, is what OU can do with him. I mean, you go to some offenses and he'd be successful. But Lincoln Riley and the way he likes to mix up personnel and change things and throw some different curveballs at you, you're going to get a lot of variety. And like I said, he can be on the field, and a defense is going to have to gauge, is he going to be at running back? Is he going to be a receiver? Are they going to put him in motion? There's just a lot of things they can do to stress a defense just with him being on the field and what they can do with him out of, a lot of formations.
And Eddie, I know that day at that camp, obviously it was one of those deals where people showed up out of the woodwork because they knew Brock Vandegrift was going to be there.
Sure.
And so he was the story, and so much so that, we really didn't pay that much attention to Ty Simpson, who was also at that camp. And then all of a sudden, they start doing one-on-ones, and everybody just flocked to the field. And it wasn't long before everyone was like, oh, who's that kid? And it became the Raleek Brown show.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I was looking back for the audio the breakdown that Josh sent me. And, I mean, we have video of Raleek Brown at the camp, but it's not like the full-fledged treatment that we would have given somebody if they were a Brock Vandegrift in that situation. Yeah. And you're right. It's like when they went to the one-on-one stuff, this guy with a white shirt and orange gloves just kept making every single play. Every ball that Vandegrift threw, he would run under it. And it was, needless to say, it was one of those impressions. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the way that DJ Graham impressed me and Bob at one of the summer camps, maybe even the year, 1 year later, or maybe it was the same summer. It doesn't matter. But he just kept making plays. And when that happens, it's like, okay, who is this kid? And obviously, come to find out, it's Raleek Brown. And, the rest is kind of history.
Well, and it's almost like, was that the last time we were at a camp? I can't even remember. It's been so long. It's like, and there's kind of some talk that maybe there will be some camps coming back through Rivals. I know Under Armour is planning on putting some together. So maybe, just maybe, we'll be back out on the circuit, which could not come soon enough if it did happen.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would hope by June or July, we could get out and do something, some type of camps. They had some camps here in Oklahoma, I guess, a year ago. The really good one down at Duncan that we went to, or Durant, excuse me, comes to mind. But as far as Josh, I wanted to ask you, just as far as like the running back situation, how important was it to get for just flat out for DeMarco to get somebody on board?
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, and that's one of those things where it can stop the narrative. I mean, and I thought there was too much assumed. Like, oh, DeMarco Murray is DeMarco Murray, and every running back in the country wants to come play for him. No, I mean, it doesn't work like that. But I think it got so overblown because there were some things that were just beyond his control. And I said it over and over again. The running back that ended up signing with Michigan last year, I think that guy probably ends up at Oklahoma. That's a Rivals 100 running back in a normal recruiting year. But the kid couldn't make a trip to Norman. He'd never seen it. And unlike Mario Williams and Kabonge, he didn't want to make that choice. He didn't want to, I'm going to go somewhere I've never seen before. That's an understandable reaction. Like I said, I think it's huge for OU. It builds some momentum. It gives them some confidence. And it helps them also, guys, like we talked about when the receiver thing started happening. You had Luther Burden jump on board, and then, almost immediately you started hearing, okay, Talon Shetron's getting close. It allows you to go to these other running backs, which I think right now their two primary focuses are Javonte Barnes out of Las Vegas and Gavin Sawchuk out of Colorado. Those two guys, they can go to them and be like, guys, we want you to be these guys. You can be part of this class. We want all three of you, and we're going to use Raleek in some interesting ways. We're going to use you guys a little bit differently, and let that be your pitch. And you can say, hey, but we don't have, we've already got one in the boat, man. We need a couple more, and we're done. And it allows, you don't want to get too high pressure, especially with the need they have at running back. But Oklahoma has been very clear through the years, with really the exception of last year and its oddness, that they want to be done with running back recruiting by like May or June. They don't want to go through the summer. They don't want to be worried about it into the season. And with the way things have played out the last 2 years, you can kind of understand why. Because there's just too much they have to worry about and contend with if they don't know who their guys are going to be.
Yeah, I understand if there are people that are going to be hesitant, like, okay, well, we've been here with Chase McClellan and we were here with Kumar Wheaton, and like
sure.
it's how do we know that somebody's not going to swoop in? And you've even said it. It's not Alabama that you have to worry about. It's about USC and maybe them kind of rebuilding the relationships with his school and all that stuff. And who knows what's going to happen when visits start happening and they're allowed. I think the world gets turned on its head once official visits start happening again with everybody.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, I was just going to say, am I imagining almost that it seems like when guys come from really strong programs like a Mater Dei, you don't see the I guess like the weirdness of a recruitment. Is that just a broad generalization, I guess?
There's some truth in that, but I think it's largely built on, Eddie, there are people around you that know how recruiting works. You look at the head coach at Mater Dei, Bruce Rawlinson, the guy that's been there forever and has coached, more 5-stars than, most states have seen. So it's kind of amazing what he's been able to do there. And, I think you have some familiarity. You've seen other guys go to these kind of programs. You know what it's like. He doesn't have to go anywhere to ask a player what they think about LSU. Oh, yeah, we've got a sophomore that's there. Oh, well, what about Alabama? Oh, yeah, we've got a guy that signed there last year. There's so much familiarity with all these major programs that Raleek Brown is being recruited by. I would almost expect it's trickier when it's like a kid signing with, San Jose State. They're like, well, we don't have a lot of familiarity with that because pretty much every guy that comes out of Mater Dei and starts for us goes to Power 5. So it's that would be a little bit more confusing, I'm guessing. But like I said, I think you're right, Eddie. And you also have these coaches that they don't, at the high school level, they don't want to burn these college guys because they know I want you back here next year recruiting my wide receiver or my linebacker or whatever. And if you get a reputation as, well, these guys, their word doesn't mean anything, and they don't I'm not saying schools are going to stop recruiting modern day, but I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. Like, I'd rather have a guy at another school that doesn't have a reputation of flip-flopping every year.
I guess I have to put an asterisk out there for Aledo, because they are a really good program, and there's been some weird shit that's happened over the last couple of years.
Well, and it looks like Oklahoma's back in there. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
For those that don't know, it sounds a little like Oklahoma is making a legitimate run at Brian Allen, the big time safety. I think one of the best 2 or 3 safeties in the whole country. That actually, and to add to his importance, his younger brother is already in line to be one of the better corners in his class, in the 2024 class. So it is. I know those numbers. People are like, 2024. Man, that's recruiting right now. I mean, that guy's already got like 3 Power 5 offers. So it is. It's going to be interesting, and I'm not telling anybody to get crazy at Aledo, because we don't know how that's going to go. But it does sound like Oklahoma, since his decommitment from LSU, is starting to make some inroads.
Well, and let me ask you this, too, speaking about 2022, and I guess this is, a danger that anybody's going to run into, but when you stack up all these number 1 quarterbacks like OU has been doing, guys are, we've talked about this a lot. The quarterback position is just so different from every other position. Because guys literally are trying to – it's not that they're afraid of competition. Sometimes guys just say, F it, I'm going to go where I'm going to go. But they tend to be pretty smart about, finding not just, the place they want to go, but the right fit for themselves. And Josh, it looks like it's kind of created a little bit of problem having, Spencer Rattler, young quarterback, and then Caleb Williams signing – with a 2022 quarterback prospect.
Absolutely. I mean, that's been Oklahoma's been involved, obviously offered Ty Simpson long ago, kind of in that same timeline we were talking about earlier with Brock Vandegrift and Raleek Brown. That offer happened way back then. OU's never felt like a huge contender, and now he's ready to decide. Looks like it's going to come down to Clemson, Alabama. I mentioned last week I think it's going to be Clemson, but it seems close in his recruitment. And then Connor Wigman was the guy that a lot of people had as Oklahoma's most likely, target. And I think he was. I think he was leaning to Oklahoma prior to Texas A&M making their offer, I think 2 weeks ago, something like that. And then last week, I think, was it during the pod or right after the pod? I can't remember. He committed. And, I talked to some people immediately, kind of okay, where does it go now? What's next? And it sounds like Oklahoma is entertaining the idea of just not taking a quarterback in 2022 and being able to focus on, we did a story earlier this week on Malachi Nelson, the 2023 quarterback that OU's already offered. They've told him, we want you to be the guy. We're going to focus on you. Kind of the same stuff they told Spencer Rattler at a very young age. And, we want you to be our guy. And Rattler bought in, never wavered, just stuck with OU. Now, Rattler, I think, was a little slower to hit the national scene because he was out of Arizona, and this kid's from Los Alamitos, kind of Southern California area kid, and already has a bang load of offers. So he is rolling, and I don't think it's going to be quite the same way. Oklahoma's really going to have to fight for him, but he's clearly in on Oklahoma, wants to take a trip, is kind of working on that already. So, like I said, it's possible Oklahoma just passes on a quarterback in 2022, or, maybe they get lucky and there's another Chandler Morris situation that arises late and they kind of find a guy they always liked and can take him.
It's funny with Wigman. I guess being on an OU podcast, there's going to be a lot of people that hear this kind of roll their eyes, but I still think that from everybody that I've talked to, they think he could be a first-round draft pick in the Major League Baseball draft if he really, really wants to.
That's always been my understanding is that
was OU that of course they were upset they didn't get him, but were they really that upset knowing what they already have in there? And then you add in Michael Bowen as well.
Yeah, I mean, hey, guys, when even Billy Lucci can concede that OU's quarterback room is fine with or without Connor Wigman, that's probably a pretty good sign that it's okay. Like, Oklahoma's going to have to learn to survive with Caleb Williams. I think they're going to be all right. But yeah, I mean,
dry fit Lincoln.
Yeah, dry fit Lincoln got himself a 5-star last year. So
that's just so hokey. A&M, like, did that somehow an insult or even relevant?
I don't understand I guess I just don't understand the dig.
I guess
the brand that every school in college football wants to be. That sucks.
I mean, you're moisture wicking Jimbo Fisher. I mean, is that what the comeback is supposed to be? No, It's like, I guess they're trying to say. I tried to kind of explain this. I guess the logic here is because OU talks about being a Jordan Brand school so much, like that is somehow an insult to call him dry fit Lincoln because he's like always focused on athletic apparel or something.
That's all Jimbo wears is dry fits.
Well, they're Adidas.
And sweatsuits. And Adidas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's wannabe dry fit.
I didn't catch that. What was it?
The stink of divorce.
Wasn't his wife?
I don't think we need to level those accusations.
Allegedly, Eddie said allegedly, so we're fine.
I don't want Dominion voting. I don't want Dominion coming after us too. All right.
Oh God. But A&M people wouldn't do that. They're not crazy like that. It's fine.
Oh, there's somebody with time on their hands that probably will just file a lawsuit just to.
Yes.
File a lawsuit.
That'll.
So, you know what, Eddie? Much like when you would talk about Michelle Herman, there's going to be just one long beep.
I feel bad about Michelle Herman nowadays.
I don't think she's doing so bad, right? Like,
I mean, well, she's going to do a lot better when that divorce check clears.
I know. That buyout is going to pay off for her pretty well.
Yeah, she was rooting for a big Tommy buyout.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I got us off track there. So, transfer portal. We haven't talked about Big Kat. Well, we have. We always talk about Big Kat, but everybody wants to know what the hell with Big Kat. I mean, I know Bob was a big proponent of, this should be the date that it should happen because classes start here. And Josh, you've been kind of banging that drum like, hey, this is still something that they're working on making happen. Yeah,
and I know, and I get it. There's a fatigue to it this has gone on so long. I mean, this was a guy OU was targeting before Wanye Morris, was even in the portal. So, this has just gone on forever. And from what I can understand, it's just admissions. It's waiting for all that to clear up. What I don't fully grasp yet is what it means is if he can be part of anything this spring. Because I know Friday was kind of the break date, and that was supposed to be, okay, kind of cut or run. And what I understand is it's still a work in process. They're still trying to do it. So, and I haven't heard anything that okay, well, it won't matter until the summer. He can't be part of things till the summer. I have not been told that. Now, that is what makes sense to me. But I can't say I explicitly know that. So what I can say is that it sounds like it's turned to kind of the, I guess OU was due because Wanye Morris went pretty smoothly. I mean, there was a little bit of a lag there, but, went fine. Eric Gray was the fastest transfer I've ever seen. And then you had, once he finally made his decision.
Yeah.
And Keyshawn Lawrence went really smoothly as well. This feels like Oklahoma's paying it all back in one lump sum. So, Big Kat, like I said, I've heard it's gotten a little crazy, a little weird, but my understanding is that he is still expected at this point in time to be part of the team in 2021. Now, when he joins the team is up for debate.
Maybe he doesn't enroll this spring.
Yeah, that's kind of the question to me. Like I said, I don't know how it would work in the spring at this point.
Yeah, if there was one person that you could do that with and feel confident is a guy that's played 4 years of football in college. I mean, and you're a rush end. So,
can anybody explain it to me like a 5-year-old? Like, what is when it's like if it's academics? I just don't understand like what the. I feel like something like that should get done in a matter of 4 hours.
Okay, think of it.
Sending shit over.
Think of it this way, Eddie. It's in. We used to deal with this a lot in the past. You remember what happened with Phil Lodeholt back in the day, Josh?
Oh God, yes.
Like. There's always someone wants to because this happened with JUCO guys a lot. Like requirements for schools in the SEC were different than requirements like in the Big 10 or the Big 12 or the Pac-12. So like, it's possible he would not be considered on making progress towards a degree or something like that. Like he wouldn't be eligible. Because he didn't make the necessary progress towards. So it's got to be something with credits, transferring, not having enough hours in this or that, or maybe not having these classes. It's got to be something like that.
Yep. It's got to be something they're trying to find. Because, I mean, Eddie, you also have to remember, a lot of times one school will offer a credit or a program that another school doesn't even offer, and how do you make that balance? Like how does he get that credit so he can graduate, or do whatever he wants to do academically so that he can move to senior level courses or whatever it is that he's got planned. When you run into those kind of problems, I think that's where it gets really hard. And you have to try to balance that out. Is our, second level economics course the same as Auburn's, secondary, intro to business? I mean, do those credits count equally for us as they did for them? So I think, and again, this is idle speculation. I don't know that that's what it is, but that's usually the kind of hang-ups, like Kerry was saying, is stuff like that where you're trying to transfer, kind of a triangle to a square sort of situation.
I guess that makes sense.
So you're saying he's bad at math?
This might sound bad, but I would just think that like some of the classes that he's taken probably would line up with some of the other classes that football players take. I don't know. I don't necessarily see him trying to get into the Price Business School.
You're telling me that a guy that legally changed his name to Big Kat, you don't think he's doing macroeconomics? Is that what you're telling me here?
Honestly, legally, he shouldn't have to take classes. If you wear a single digit and you go by Big Kat, you should be free to roam around campus and just hang out until practice.
You're Cardell Jones in it. I'm here for football.
Yeah,
I'm here to play football, not play school
or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there it is. I couldn't remember it exactly. That's it.
It's kind of like Kenny Powers saying, "I'm not trying to be the best at exercising."
Yeah, guys, and I mean, we could get on that all day. I'm all for that. Like, if that's what you're there to do, fine. Like, don't. Like, fine. Like, the pretense that most of these guys are there for their education is bull. Like, that's
Josh,
fine.
I'm still upset. I'm waiting on your OU leading, their GPA story. You haven't put that up yet.
Yeah, that's in the works. That's coming any day now. The GP. I don't even know what you're talking about. So that kind of tells you. I'm talking about.
You always get like the the email, the PR email from OU every time the grades come out. Like it was all on social media and stuff yesterday, but it's like OU at the highest GPA in program history, like 3.19, which is fine because I sucked at school. But
yeah, that's great.
I also didn't have tutors that were basically helping me
were just doing their part and helping me to do all my work on my own.
Yeah,
is what you were going to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize something had actually been sent out, but yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. But I mean, 3-2, hey, that's better than a lot of teams. So no shame in any of that, and it's certainly better than plenty of semesters I had.
Yeah, me as well. Okay. Hey, want to remind you guys, Valentine's Day, or gals, Valentine's Day is coming up, and our friends at Dead Soxy have a Valentine's Day special going on right now. That's right. You spend $25, you get free shipping. You spend $60, you get $15 off. $90, $25 off. And $120, you get $35 off. You say, wow, that's a great deal. Well, Sooner Scoop will make it even better because when you use your promo code Boomer, you'll get an additional 30% off the Valentine's Day specials. So hey, look, just use Valentine's Day to your advantage if you're not buying this as a gift for someone. Splurge on yourself a little bit. And Eddie, I'm sure, I don't know if you've made your next rounds, but I've got my cart full. I've got to get some more dead Soxies in. Now that it's colder, I probably need some more boardroom socks, too. The no-shows are not doing it for me out with this weather right now.
Well, I think the perfect way to do that is just double up, and I've done that a couple times. I do that basically throughout the entire winter, and there's no better reason to do that than get, just load up on dead socks. And then, of course, if you're going to be on loan on Valentine's Day, treat yourself. There's no better way than spending it on Sunday alone is by treating yourself with dead soxy.
Little self-care tip from Eddie Radosevich.
Absolutely. Take it from me.
Go to Deadsoxy, DEADSOXY.com, and use that Sooner Scoop code Boomer, 30% off your already low offer from the Valentine's Day special. And remember, as always, stay soxy. Eddie, I don't know how people are going to take the latest TikTok video that has surfaced.
Oh, the Eric Gray, Wanya Morris TikTok that they put out in uniform today?
Yeah.
They must be getting their mugshot pics taken for the program and stuff.
I would say, yeah, to go through all the trouble of putting on the uniforms, I would think that, yeah, I would hope so. I hope they just don't put on their uniforms.
They just go to class in them.
I hope they don't put on their uniforms just to do TikToks. That might be a little... I could just see some people's heads exploding on the Crimson Corner when they see that video.
I mean, if Eric Gray's going to wear 0, though, for the season, that's pretty sexy.
I told you, I totally endorse it. It's a running back wearing 0 is pretty cool.
And as Bob brought up, we've got 2 Tennessee guys wearing 0 with Woody and... unless Woody changes his number, with Woody and Gray.
Maybe Perrion Winfrey asked Woody to change for his number.
Well, Perrion was 8, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I bet he chose that before he knew they could wear 0.
Oh, you think? I mean, what is it makes you believe that Perrion wants to be 0?
Because if you want to be a single number, you want to be the lowest.
Oh, I want to be 1. 1's the money.
1 on a defensive tackle is ridiculous.
That's amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Tell me, okay, go back
to... Who was it? Florida State was like the first... They had the first guy to do that, and I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, they had some guy...
I want to say like somebody named Phillips or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, the one I always think of is Jadeveon Clowney is 7 at South Carolina. I mean, that dude was just a badass. I mean, he could wear any number he wanted to. I think the NFL should change the rules for him.
See, you guys talk about Big Kat being sick, but he pulls that off just like Ronnie Perkins pulled off. I mean, they're 245. I mean, what was Jadeveon? Was he 260? Is that what he played?
Yeah, 265, probably somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
My God, you know how many videos I have seen about Shane Beamer recruiting Jadeveon Clowney? Like, that's all they ask him about.
If there is anything that's out that Shane Beamer took from Lincoln Riley, I feel like it is have a very good video team that can start igniting some excitement in the program, because that's all they've done is just push.
You know what he didn't take from Lincoln Riley?
Staff?
No.
Fucking over the media?
Yes, that's what he didn't take from Lincoln Riley. He does so many interviews, and there's so many. I've seen so much South Carolina stuff on my timeline, and he retweets it all. Like, he's just a media blitz. And, I mean, I understand it's going to be different when you're just taking over a team. You want to build excitement. But I don't think Shane Beamer's ever going to be like Lincoln Riley, where you just refuse to do media.
No, I think in a way, I kind of think he enjoys it.
No, I do. And he's good at it.
The other side of it is that South Carolina has to do that because, I mean, let's be honest, it's an uphill battle in that state.
And also, guys, I mean, how much do you think, I mean, there's a couple things to consider. I think Lincoln Riley started off on a little different track than he's eventually taken.
Oh, no, there's no doubt. When he was an offensive coordinator, he knew he needed to use the media to build his own brand, his name, his reputation. That's what makes me not pissed off about it, but that's what I find just ridiculous. Is like, now that he's where he, and that's how you know Lincoln Riley's happy. Now that he's where he wanted to be, he's just like, "F you, media. I don't have time for you."
Yeah, you know, the other The other thing to consider, I think, that's interesting is Shane grew up around it. Like, his dad was doing it all so you wonder if they're just like, well, this is just the way it is. Like I think sometimes Lincoln Riley as an offensive coordinator was, important, but nothing like Bob, like you were like, well, we got to get the Lincoln Riley press conference. It's like, okay, we're going to talk to Lincoln today, that kind of thing.
I think what I'm hearing here is, Lincoln, it's been fun. Shane Beamer, you're our next head coach. Come on in.
Wow. That happens fast.
I mean, shit, I thought I was stepping out on a ledge when I fired Lon Kruger at halftime of a game that they won last year in basketball. You're firing Lincoln after another Big 12 championship.
No, I know I can't get away with that.
Wow.
Look,
did you guys hear all those people just unsubscribe from the pod? This is bad.
I know when you can and cannot. And some people would say, I'll never fire a coach after Mike Stoops. I wouldn't call for his head. But unlike some people, I know when to say someone should be fired. I'll just say that. Some people
can't imagine who you mean.
No one can. It's so secretive.
So veiled. Yeah. Totally. I'll need some inner reflection on this.
Don't do it, Eddie. Stop it.
I coughed. That was a cough.
So yeah, but I back to the TikToks. But yeah, I mean, Eric Gray. I just think that some people are going to look at that and they're not going to understand it at all because they aren't on TikTok, which most grown men should not be on TikTok. I would, kind of agree with that. I have an account. I never use it. I think I've posted maybe one thing to it.
I downloaded it last week finally, and then I deleted it this morning. I was like, I don't think I need this in my life. Like, I don't think this is bringing value into my world. And I'm certainly not bringing any value to it.
I'll keep you guys updated. I'm not a grown man, though.
I think I follow Joe Bettner and Rivals. That's the only people I follow on TikTok.
You don't follow Eddie?
I don't post anything.
I know he's not there for content.
Oh, no. He's there for content. I don't think it's, content.
There are a lot of whores on there, yes.
Sorry, Eddie's mom.
She knows he likes boobs.
I would think she's probably known that pretty early.
I feel awkward, and this is just on a Zoom. I can't imagine.
Moms know you like boobs.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So about the transfer portal, I do feel awkward.
It's really awkward. I mean, it's really strange that we can make Eddie uncomfortable. It's not easy to do.
I do feel awkward in saying that I feel kind of creepy in continually checking to make sure that Buki is still in the transfer portal. I know that I need to stop that at some point, but I just feel like if I don't, it's going to happen to where it happened when he entered, and it kind of goes under the radar.
Yeah, you kind of dropped the ball on that one.
Well, because I thought it was over. I mean, school had started, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I mean, there's been no announcement that he's going anywhere.
No. And there hasn't even been any activity. The only person that I noticed he followed was a Miami defensive back coach. But, that's kind of the telltale sign, isn't it? When guys start following, it's like, it was like TJ Pledge. It's like, oh, he's followed half the Utah staff. I think that there's something there.
Yeah. And players, too.
I mean, is that I don't want to say it, but is that kind of a sign that maybe his trip to the portal isn't the all-inclusive trip that he thought it was going to be?
You wonder about that. I mean, I think, because guys, we were hearing talk that he knew what he was going to do. So
it sounded like, the buzz that we were hearing was that he was just going to go back out to the West Coast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of Pac-12 talk.
And it seemed to be like, okay, this is going to happen pretty quick. He knows what he's going to do. And it hasn't happened.
It felt Chandler Morris-ian.
Yeah, once you found out his dad was probably going to be the offensive coordinator, it kind of all made sense, and then it happened.
Yeah.
Did Gary Patterson ever make a hire?
I don't think he has yet. I think he wants to make sure that Max Duggan is locked in. I mean, did you see how high they are up on players that they've lost to the portal?
Yeah, they have a lot of guys in there.
I think Western Kentucky is last or something. Did they hire somebody else?
TCU announces Doug Meacham as offensive coordinator and Kenny Hill as quarterback coach.
Oh, I remember the Kenny Hill stuff. I do not remember that Meacham is back there now.
Whoa.
That is crazy.
And
I don't think that played out the way
Cumbie went back to Tech, right?
Yeah, they hired Cumbie after
Boy,
they got rid of their
Boy, if you had a little truth serum for the Morris family, I'd be very interested to hear those stories.
That is interesting.
Eddie, if you'd like to go retire to your fridge for a moment, Oklahoma in game 1, inning 1, Patty is up 13-0 on UTEP with 5 home runs in the first inning.
Shit.
Yes.
They hit, before we started, I saw they hit 6 home runs. I think 6 of the first 8 batters hit a home run.
Who are they playing again?
I don't know if you guys saw the quote that Bettner put out from yesterday's media session, but Patty Gasso basically said, we're the best we've ever been in the outfield, and the infield is about as athletic as we've ever been. I think it was her exact quote.
I mean, she said something like, there's not a single break in this whole lineup. And you're like, oh, my God. Because, she knows she's good, but I've never read her, flex real hard like that. But I think she knows this is pretty legit group offensively.
Oh,
but
another home run, 14-0. Top of the second.
God. What is run rule in softball? Isn't it 15 by 5 or
sometimes
something like
they
that?
have 7
no,
after
it's 7
5
after 5.
12
yeah.
after 10 after 5 or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, I can't ever keep track. Yeah.
Might be 8 after 5. I can't remember.
Oh, poor UTEP. Welcome to your softball season. You're going to get massacred.
Are you watching it online?
No. I somebody posted it on the board, and then I started looking at it on Twitter and just kind of keeping track. So anyway, sorry, didn't mean to get up too much softball talk, but we are a OU softball pod. So
this year we're now a OU softball pod. Yes,
because
they're going to kick the shit out of some people.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, we don't. I will say this: we don't, and some people are starting to get a little irritated by the fact that there is no Big 12 schedule released yet. I will tell you this. I talked to Joe C. a few weeks ago, and I said, hey, I'm just curious if you know anything about a timeline, just because, people are starting to get restless, and, you have people trying to plan, weddings, thinking that there are a lot of people that hold off being married this last year. And so they wanted to know what weekends they could plan for weddings. Do you have any idea? And a few weeks ago, he told me it would be the next week or the one after that. So I would say if you don't hear anything by this week, by the end of I think you'll hear something by the end of this week. But if not, I think you'll get a full football schedule next week. I don't know if that matters to you guys, if you care.
Oh, I don't think it matters to me, but I think it probably matters to people that are trying to figure out if they can travel. I don't know. We kind of know the lay. I guess it'll be interesting when they put the Iowa State game, just because that could probably be a top 5 game at the beginning. I don't know.
Gotta put that. I know you don't want to have back-to-back games, but you've got to put that lit. You can't have that as one of the first 3 games of the schedule in Big 12.
You've got to let it build. That needs to be late October.
Yeah.
Kerry, have you heard any talk? Somebody asked me, what the thought is on capacity next year, and I wondered if they would, kind of maybe do 25% again or whatever, and then say as well as anyone with vaccine. We can accept anybody that's been vaccinated.
Yeah, it is interesting, because I just think I hate the way people use it's fluid, but I think that they just are going to be on a sliding scale, seeing how the vaccines go, how quickly they go to where they can feel comfortable making a decision. But that is the thing. It's I heard people talking about this the other day. It's are they going to give you something that shows you have been vaccinated, so you can show it to places, or is that ridiculous anyway because people will just counterfeit them? So, like, it to me, I don't know how you make that work out, but obviously some people are going to just not want to get vaccinated. And I don't think you can, as a public institution, I don't know how much power you really have to say you can't come here unless you're vaccinated.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I would almost treat them as two separate entities. Like, okay, we can do 25% of whatever, and then we also have room for X amount of vaccinated people. That way, it's not you can't come in unless you're vaccinated, but at the same time, you can get a bigger crowd in. It's not at risk.
It's going to be like a concentration camp for football fans. Like, you're going to separate, like, the west side are the vaccinated folks and the east side are those who refuse to get vaccinated.
Well, you don't have to do that. If you're vaccinated, you're not at risk to them and they're not at risk to you.
I think they already do that.
Where?
Even pre-pandemic.
Well, that's just wealth.
Oh.
That's if you can afford a suite or not.
That's probably true.
But yeah, I mean, if you're vaccinated, yeah, you probably don't care. Although, I don't want to get in the weeds on that thing, but it's like you would prefer that everyone be vaccinated around you because it's not like it's 100%. But then, you're just not living your life, which is ridiculous, and I don't want to get into all that. But
yeah,
I mean, once I'm vaccinated, I'm not worried if I'm 95% affected or not. I'm living life.
True. Tiffany has been unruly, just lording it over all of us. It's been awful,
But I mean,
she
that's the thing
refuses
about
to
it.
wash her hands. It's
Like,
it's a whole thing.
That's the thing about it, though. Like, even if you catch it or somehow, if you're vaccinated, doesn't it keep you from your chances of being hospitalized or greatly reduced? If you have the vaccination, even if you catch the virus and it affects you?
I believe that is the case. I won't pretend that I know the exact details of that, but it feels like I've read that somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, are we always just going to think about the pod in terms of your first reaction to the virus when it came out? Like, I think people are just going to remember that forever. And they
should,
because
I
there's
deserve
just
to be
been
ridiculed
so
for
many
that.
twists and turns along. And I'm not trying to ridicule you. I'm just saying there's been so much that's happened since you came on and said it's the flu. And then the whole world shut down because that was before Rudy Gobert happened, before it turned the sports world on its head.
Yep.
It's just I think back to your original question. I'm just really curious to get to a spring game. I mean, it's going to be late April now. How far? I would imagine we're pretty far along. When I initially signed up, I was phase 4, but then I find out I'm actually considered essential personnel because I'm in broadcasting, so I'm phase 3. But I would hope by the time there's a spring game, they've gotten through phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think that they will be. I mean, you look at the numbers right now. Oklahoma, as a state, is leading the country in administering vaccines. Both my parents have got it already.
Yeah.
Yep.
And my parents have gotten their first shots. Down in Frisco.
Oklahoma catches plenty of crap. Yep.
Handed that shit out pretty well.
Yep. In a situation where just about every state, and I don't think any state should be proud of the way it's gone because it just has been unorganized. But at the same time, there's a lot of challenges that people just don't understand. It's incredibly difficult. Even, like I said, with Tiffany getting hers, she's medical. She knows all the places to go and the things to do and the people to talk to. And it still is okay, I got to do this and then that. There's still a lot involved in it. So there's just a lot to kind of work through. But, the people I've talked to, it sounds pretty optimistic that June should be when you really start to see the tide really starting to turn. As far as numbers, just everything should start to, I don't want to say normal, but start to calm a little bit and not feel somebody walking around without a mask is going to, kill a dozen people or something. And calm down, people. Just an example.
I do think it's important to put this out there. And I don't care if people say, well, you're getting, whatever. I don't think this is political. The goal all along was to limit hospital or take, make sure that hospitals weren't overwhelmed. So, I mean, if you can catch the virus, you can catch the virus, but as long as hospitals aren't overwhelmed, that was the goal all along. It's not that the goal was never make sure no one can ever catch it again or eliminate it completely. It was just about not overwhelming the hospitals, and they've been overwhelmed for 11 months now.
Yep. I mean, people get sick. Like that if you cut that out, hospitals don't have a lot of purpose. So I mean, that's unavoidable. But you're right. It's just about making sure, because I mean, guys, there were days when, Tiffany would go in and literally there was no way she wouldn't come in contact with someone. And now, especially, Houston's got some bad numbers, but it's starting to calm a little bit. You're starting to see the peak start to fall a little bit. And I know that's nationwide as well. So it seems like there's starting to be some light at the end of the tunnel again.
It wasn't the no mask that killed everybody. It was the AR-15 that guy brought in. What?
Oh, Eddie's going for multiple.
Settle down,
beepings.
Marjorie Green. All right.
I told Dylan Buckingham this morning that I need to find out who the Marjorie Green of Channel 4 is, because we need to have an insurrection over there if Mike Morgan's wrong on Monday.
I think we are getting to the point where we can joke about some things, maybe.
Okay. See, I had to look up who she was again because people really don't believe me. Like, I don't follow crap like this. It's just off my radar. But I did get bagged by a couple of my buddies for not knowing who the hell Morgan Wallen was last week. I caught some shit on that.
Okay, Big 12 releasing schedule at noon. That's in
today?
4 minutes today, yes.
These sons of bitches.
They knew we were recording. Let's get some immediate schedule reaction. That'll be hot podcast air.
Okay,
I'm picking OU to win all the conference games.
I just opened up another bag of worms. Murdoch, why did you get off the pod and put that on the board? You're holding out on us. You know something's going to come out. You didn't report it.
You knew 4 minutes early.
I'm just trying to make sure that Bob can get off of baby duty for a second.
Play 9 conference games.
Yes, I missed the intro. Did we clarify why Bob isn't part of it? Like, we're not just shutting him out and he can't talk?
Oh, he's on baby duty. I think I said that.
Okay. I wanted to make sure we hadn't just left him hanging. So Bob has been muted. We're just not allowing him to take part.
Sorry, now I'm responding to people. It's a whirlwind of activity that's happening here. See, this is going to be something cool. I know a lot of people are like, Murdoch, what the are you doing anymore? Like, what do you do with your life? We have been kind of working on for a long time. Basically what I do is I spend money. That's kind of my job now. It's ridiculous.
Can confirm.
Josh can confirm. We're building up kind of a way for us to, and maybe, I know some people talk about, we're going to have Sooner Scoop talk here for a minute. Everybody's like, why don't you put the pod on YouTube? I want to watch it on YouTube. Like, 3 people want to watch it on YouTube. Nobody wants to sit there for an hour. If you're going to watch it on YouTube, you're going to listen to it on YouTube. You're not watching it. I mean, who wants to sit around and watch people on Zoom for an hour and a half? Nobody. Like 100 people. Because that's like you, and I've had this thing before. But what we are doing is... Hand
up real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eddie.
I I agree with your mentality, and nobody wants to watch a podcast. I think that is 100% an Olds take. And I'm right there with you.
That you want the podcast on YouTube?
People are watching.
I think he's saying he doesn't understand why people would, but people do.
Yes. Like, we are very Olds when that comes to that.
No, I mean, it's not Olds. It's numbers.
It's as big as it is.
It's numbers. Like, yes, people watch Joe Rogan's podcast, but those are national podcasts. People do not, go look at, Gabe's podcast and look at his YouTube numbers. It's not good.
Sure.
Ouch,
and I'm not ripping on Gabe. I've told Gabe this. I mean, I said I'm not committed to you. What I am committed to is giving you guys content on YouTube. And because look, there's a hole in Sooner Scoop in that other people fill. This is not porn I'm talking about.
All right, the schedule's out.
Okay. Well, let's break it down. Let's get first reactions now that the schedule's out. Hold on. I want to see it with my own eyes before.
They released it. It's the big schedule.
They just released the entire schedule. Not
week by week.
Here's what only thing people care about: OU schedule. So they start off Tulane, Western Carolina, Nebraska. That's your non-conference.
Correct.
First Big 12 game,
September 25th.
West Virginia.
Correct.
And that is. This does not have home or road. This is confusing.
Yeah.
The gray is road.
Oh, okay. The white.
Excuse me. The gray is home. Sorry.
Cream. Yeah, because Texas is gold. Okay. So, West Virginia is home because they were supposed to go to West Virginia this year but didn't. Then, a Kansas State game, second game, the one that sucks for them every year. That's
the week before Texas.
The week before Texas, and that is on the road. So they'll have to go to Manhattan, win there, and then Texas is the next week. And so we've gone here. If you're looking for a bye, you don't have one. I mean, you play Tulane.
They have one on the 6th of November.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like I said, you start the season, you don't have a bye through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You play 9 games before you have a bye.
Well, you've got Kansas on October 23rd.
Their bye is the first week, right?
The 18th. Yeah, there's no game there. Yep. The only Big 12 game that whole week is Baylor, Kansas.
18th of what?
September. Look at the very top of the board.
But, I mean, OU's playing Nebraska that week.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
See, Tulane's the 4th, Western Carolina's the 11th, Nebraska's the 18th. Then 7 days later, they start Big 12 play. So West Virginia, Kansas State, Texas, then home to TCU, at Kansas, then home to Texas Tech, at Baylor, and then Iowa State at home, November 20th. No bye before that game. And they finish it off with Oklahoma State on the road, which has become pretty much tradition. I like that. So, I mean, I like that Iowa State is late, like we said. You know, when we were talking about it when the schedule wasn't released. I think that's a perfect time to have that game. They're your 2 favorites going into next year. And you can play, and then you get away from each other for a week, and then you would meet again in a championship. Any other thoughts?
Sorry, I was getting it up on the board and then on Twitter.
Okay.
No, I mean, how many weeks in a row do they play?
9.
1?
9.
So they'll play 9 straight out of the gate?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the schedule isn't. It doesn't play bad for them because, like I said, you get through that West Virginia, Kansas State, Texas run, which is that there's some challenges there. Then you've got TCU at home, at Kansas, and then Texas Tech at home. Like those are 3 games you shouldn't, in all likelihood, be playing deep into the fourth quarter. Like those games should be over.
And you have, I mean, the month of October, you get 2 home games. You get 3 home games in September, 2 home games in October, and 1 home game in November. So it's a little lean October, on. Really, at the end of September, you only have the entire season. You have 3 at home and 5 on the road, or 1. Texas is neutral, so that would be the only. But at least the last home game you get is Iowa State, which could be a top 5 matchup potentially.
Well, and the worst part for OU is they play Kansas State early in the year, like I said, prior to Texas. And it's not even enough time for Skylar Thompson to get hurt. Like, that team is – well, I mean, let's be real. That team's pretty competitive with Skylar Thompson. Without him, they are a shit show. So
they weren't really any good with him, though. I mean, what Kansas State has done to Oklahoma has been an anomaly, but it's been maddening. But it's not like they've been killing everyone else and they just happened to lose someone. And they beat Oklahoma last year with no secondary. They were all out because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's been some weird shit, man.
Well, and don't forget that. The Kansas State game is just the further away that you get from that, it's just the bigger the anomaly it was that you blow a 22-point lead with 2 minutes left in the third quarter.
Even the most
unblocked,
supportive of OU fans, even Lincoln Riley, had no leg to stand on to be included in the playoff because of that loss. There's just no way. There was no way. They were terrible, and you lost to them.
And I will still maintain that K-State did OU a favor there. You're coming off a huge Florida win, got a lot of momentum, or you play Alabama.
You should literally get a drum that you can bang.
It is proof of my point. Do we think that Oklahoma team was better than Ohio State or Clemson last year? Ohio State or Notre Dame?
We don't know.
No.
It's a fair point, Josh, but you have to admit, when OU beat Alabama, that was a big deal. When Texas beat Georgia, that was a big deal. It just so happened that those teams came back and laid absolute eggs the next year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know what?
But,
that Florida win.
Was it a big deal when OU beat Florida?
It was as big a deal.
Even if Dan Mullen tried to mitigate it?
It was as good a win as it was. I'll tell you why it was a good win is because you beat a team, you beat the shit out of a team, but everyone knew you didn't really beat Florida because all their good players had opted out. Except for the quarterback.
Don't get me wrong. They were. It's not like if they would have beaten that team like that with Pitts and Tony and the whole crew. Okay, hey, go play Alabama. Fine. Yeah. Like maybe you belong in that conversation. But at the same time, Alabama stomped better teams that were full strength. You were not ready for that. You weren't. Next year, maybe. This year, no.
I just again, hindsight being what it is, that was just a really good football team in 2013 for Oklahoma. They had that win at Notre Dame. They used different quarterbacks throughout the season. That was just a really good team, and they actually had pretty good players on defense. But that 2014 team was terrible, and Trevor Knight was not a great quarterback.
That 2013 team might have been the worst OU offense since the 2001 team that was just terrible, like couldn't do anything offensively because they couldn't block anybody.
Yeah, it was just that was painful. That was a painful season, 2014, to cover, to watch, all that. So, yeah, there's your schedule. West Virginia, Kansas State, West Virginia home, Kansas State on the road, Texas in Dallas, TCU at home, Kansas on the road, Texas Tech at home, Baylor on the road, Iowa State at home, then Oklahoma State. And you know what? After everything that we went through last year, I don't look at that. Well, Nebraska, too. You could say that's a Big 12 game. After everything last year, this is the first year I don't look at that schedule and go, oh, what a shitty conference OU plays in.
I still kind of think it.
But, I just don't feel it, like, in my bones like normally. Like,
yeah.
And I think we're getting further away from Nebraska and Colorado and whoever, and A&M and everybody else that is left to where it's just not, you're just kind of, and I think people have come to the realization that even in this league, if you just win, and you don't even have to win them all, but if you win if you win all your games, you're definitely in the playoff. And if you lose just one, you got a shot. As long as you have a good out-of-conference win, which I don't know if there's one there next year. So I don't know if Nebraska.
This is the year. Scott Frost is putting it all together.
Are you just coming back from
bowling.
Are you just coming back from a barnstorming Nebraska alumni tour? Sean Callahan spoke at.
Exactly. Well, I mean, he needed some Oklahoma perspective for how much respect there still is from the Oklahoma side of things. I told him there's no question Oklahoma, Nebraska's a top 10 program. There's just no doubt. And I got paid afterwards, so it was great. Everybody was happy. Guys,
I'm trying to find to Lincoln because.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm looking forward to the trip to Lincoln. I've never been to Nebraska. I wonder if it's like everything is just stuck in the 90s.
No, not really. I mean, they've got a nice little area near campus, a lot of cool restaurants and stuff. It's a pretty decent place. I mean, Lincoln's
the softball team in the top of the third just set the school record for home runs in a game. They're up 19-0.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
By the way, Lincoln is a city. I mean, like, it was the first city I went to that had like tall buildings and like, just like a downtown, like a real city downtown. I saw a guy, I think I've told you guys this before, it's the first time I've ever seen a blind man get hit by a car and thrown across the intersection.
Should have seen it coming.
That was the problem. Actually, he was doing all the rules right, but it had just stopped raining, and a guy in a Camaro was trying to beat the light, and he slid on his brakes, and he slid right into him, just launched him.
Was the last time you were up there, was that the Indomitian Sioux game?
Oh, yeah. That was, I don't know what was worse, seeing a blind guy get hit by a car or watching OU's offense that day.
The way that Indomitian Sioux is hitting people, there might have been some people that ended up blind by the end of the day.
Like, by the end of that game, Landry Jones was literally just throwing the ball. It was like a game of 500. He was just throwing the ball down the field. There was no plan. There was no offense. I mean, it was an abomination. That would that have been 09?
Well, it would have been 10, right?
No, because
or I guess 10, the 09 season. Yeah,
10 they went to. 10 was the last Big 12 championship game when they played Nebraska.
Yeah, it was 09
with the incomparable Rex Burkhead, who I will never say a bad word about on Twitter again.
Super Bowl champion,
legend, absolutely.
What were you saying, Josh? Sorry, I cut you off a minute ago.
No, I was sitting there and I was thinking about that West Virginia game. Did Darius Stills go pro and Dante came back? Is that right? The two defensive lineman brothers that are really good.
I think I have not paid attention to that.
It just got me thinking because like I said, that feels like one of those teams that, like I said, they didn't play Oklahoma, so we didn't get to see them a lot, or didn't really get to dig into them as much as you normally would. And they're the two guys that stick out in my head, but I think that's a program that's better. I think it's in a better place than people think it is. That's going to be it's a home game. You should, you should win that game. But it wouldn't shock me if it's interesting in the third quarter. I mean, I think they're moving in the right direction there.
Oh, out of all the new hires that came to the league, I think Neil Brown did probably the most with the least amount of talent around him. Did he not?
Well, remember, he also came into that controversy where they had to fire Vic Koenig, and then a bunch of their players quit, and you thought, boy, that's defense going to suck, and they actually were decent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't know because OU didn't play them, and when they went to Iowa State, they looked terrible. But that was the thing. If OU could have played West Virginia, I think we would have found out something about Oklahoma. We would have found out something about West Virginia. Because I don't know at the end of the season, I don't know how good they really were.
Yeah, West Virginia, they came back. Austin Kendall led them to beat Army in the bowl game, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Did he ever find a landing spot, Austin Kendall?
I have not seen if he did.
Maybe Western Kentucky? Everybody went there. They got a quarterback from somewhere.
That was
Western Kentucky? Yeah. They got the kid from Houston Baptist.
Kid. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, don't go there, Austin. Well, that was the running joke, is that he'd come back to Oklahoma to be the backup.
God, that'd be amazing.
Well, now they got the Bowens kid, so they don't need him.
And then he comes in like OU plays Ohio State in the playoff, and he comes in the fourth quarter to save the day. That'd be amazing. Just like it's a Disney
basic
movie.
Defense.
Instead of throwing footballs, he's just throwing double middle fingers at the Ohio State bench. Doesn't even take snaps.
I mean, they did not forget that when OU went there, they had put in the seats basic defense. That was 2 years later.
Yeah,
you didn't hear as much about it the second time around.
No, you did not. So, all right. Well, and last thing I'd started before the schedule came out. We're putting together kind of our product for YouTube. So, and I said we have a whole kind of in what we do, and that a lot of websites out there are just trying to aggregate news. Like they're scratching and clawing to get up their Big 12 schedule announcement right now, because they like every time a little piece of news comes out, they're putting up a story. They're what we call aggregation or content farming, whatever. Like, because we're a subscription website, we're not really that concerned about clicks. Like, that's not how we make most of our money. But what we're going to do with our YouTube is when things like this happen, like the Big 12 schedule comes out, or OU gets a commitment, or a player transfers or something, we want to be able to kind of have us all come in and give you our take on what that is, and then have our YouTube channel kind of be where we aggregate stuff. I know we've talked a lot about that, but if you guys want to add to that at all, or Josh, if you want to add to that, feel free.
Well, I'm the thing I'm most excited about is I didn't get a stair stepper, but I got a rowing machine. So I think I can probably do both is what I'm looking at here. Pretty excited about that, but no,
while you're doing YouTube videos,
there's a joke in there. But anyway, no, like I said, I this is something that we've wanted to do for a while. And I know Eddie and I, had kind of have talked about this, and Carrie is, of course, putting it all together for us. So
it's not going well. I'm just telling you right now. My brain is fried.
Well, I mean, you get fried over the like. Okay, got to do this. Got to do this. All I'm looking at is, oh God, the numbers. Oh, that's expensive. That's expensive.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me, kind of go too far with it. But no, I think it should be really cool. It's something I think we can do a little more instant sometimes in the podcast. I think there's some cool variety in some of the stuff we can do, and we see a lot of sites in our network do various stuff like this, and I think it's more depth of content. It's just different stuff and different ways for various people to kind of consume our information.
Plus, Eddie needs more exposure.
If you hate our faces, just get ready, because it's not going to be a kind next few months.
Yeah, Eddie really needs more exposure, too. I mean, we just don't feel like he's getting enough.
It's been kind of slow for him.
His influence it's just not what it needs to be, I don't think.
Speaking of, Eddie, are the plans in the works to, retain the title? I mean, what are we working on?
Yeah, actually, you can go vote on 405.com right now. And
has it really been a year?
Yeah, trying to run it back a little bit. I can promise you this.
Bruce Arians.
My attempt at a second term will be better than the previous one.
I don't even know who the previous one was.
Well,
I mean, it was
not
his.
Influencer. We're talking about president, but
Jesus.
Okay.
And if not, we'll just storm the Capitol. See what Stitter's up to.
Are you going to use we can't use the YouTube channel for you to go after Stitt.
No, I do that every morning for 4 hours.
Oh, God. All right. There's a joke that I won't make there. Guys, anything else that you wanted to bring up before we get out of here today?
Kind of a weird week, just with no basketball. I know that we're about to jump on a Zoom call with Coach Kruger, and the Lou Hill stuff was just kind of incredible.
Unbelievable.
to grasp, I guess.
So tragic.
Him and Pedro Gomez both on last Sunday, just terrible news. But, obviously with the Baylor situation, it's kind of interesting just because they're not even going to get back out onto the court until like middle of in a week and a half. So I don't know what's going to happen with the back end of the schedule, but big game for Oklahoma coming up on Saturday with West Virginia, obviously on ESPN+. And it was good news that they moved the OU Texas game over to ESPN, and that's going to be an 8 o'clock tip-off coming up here in, I guess, a week?
Yeah, week
next Tuesday.
Yesterday. Yeah. No, I mean, it's except for some of the cancellations, everything's been pretty good. I mean, the Tech loss wasn't ideal, but at the same time, OU is still, hovering around that 5 seed, 4 seed. I mean, with a chance for 4. I think the West Virginia game, could be really. West Virginia kind of had their dip, but they seem like they're starting to kind of become that team that people thought they were about a month in. So that's going to be a crucial game if they want to stay up in that 4 seed range, I think.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy too that like West Virginia for the longest time, and they kind of had that black eye with the loss in the SEC Challenge against Florida and Morgantown. But since then, they've played really good, and that was a big win for them on Tuesday night against Tech down in Lubbock. Chris Beard's awesome too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I love seeing the guy get on the floor and throw a tantrum.
Yeah, I was a fan.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast. Go check out the website. We'll have more on schedule. Bob's got a schedule story up by the time you hear this to get the latest on everything going on. But of course, Sooners Big 12 schedule, it's all announced. You can start planning your weddings, or you can start running from weddings if that come up with your excuse for all those weekends for anyone that wants you to go to a wedding. Unfortunately, I'm going to be caught in a wedding, I think. I'm going to miss it next year. My niece.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that the one that was going to be on Bedlam this year?
It was going to be on Bedlam this last year. Yeah, and then they went ahead.
They have every opportunity to be able to turn this thing around.
Look, they've made it through 11 months. I think the wedding is probably going to be on. I mean, I think they've stayed together this whole time during the quarantine, so.
That is a long time to be engaged.
Yes.
I think that they've won. I think they've won that race.
Yeah, I think they're going to make it. So we'll see what weekend it is. Kansas. I'm going to tell her October 23rd is a great weekend to get married, because that's when they play Kansas. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks to Josh and Eddie, and Bob will be back with us again next week, I'm sure. Thanks to Dead Soxy, as always. Go check them out. Remember, the Valentine's sale still going on. What you can also apply your Sooner Scoop discount to it that we told you about earlier in the pod. So that promo code Boomer, right? Sooner. I can't.
Yes.
See. Okay, Boomer. I always screw that up at the end. I don't know why. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.